Welcome to AY, or As I See It. I am going live, and today I want to talk about the Charlie Kirk issue. I am a political and I talk about politics and more. I like to go over social justice issues, and I am an LGBTQ creator. I do like to review other psychology videos talking about topics like this. I do like to go over Dr. G videos. He is a clinical, or he is a I'd like to review his videos, but we are going to talk about the Charlie Kirk. So today's episode is going to be heavy but necessary. We're going to talk about Charlie. As someone, sorry, hang on a second. Sorry about that. I must have a cold. Oh my gosh. As someone in the LGBTQ community, I want to be upfront. I disagree strongly with Kirk. This should never ever be weaponized to spread hate. But I also believe violence is never the answer. So let's spend the hour unpacking this story. It's not just facts, but the psychology, the politics, and the lessons we can take away from this video. I'm going to pull up YouTube here. My connection was a little odd, so you're going to have to be patient with me. I am going to pull second. All right. I am so sorry. I have to pull everything back up because my so what we're going to do is I want to review some of the things he kind of said, and obviously some of the stuff that I was not okay with. Okay. So pull this up. Hello. Why is this? Okay, obviously my internet is kind of lagging. I'm going to silly popping up. My internet connection isn't the best, so if people can bear with me today. All right. Solution to homelessness. We're going to share this because I also like social justice issues. So I'm going to share this. We're going to watch.
Why don't we do the same?
Churches should.
Churches should? Okay. But why can't we do that on a more systemic level through government programs? Hey, maybe private companies. Why hasn't Elon helped in homelessness?
Because homelessness is not a money problem. Almost every single one of them has either mental problems or drug disorders. It is not a matter of lack of capital. It's that they should either be in an asylum or they're doing drugs.
It's not that people don't want to stop. People who do have drug issues, of course, want to stop. I believe that anyone who has a drug issue, of course, wants to stop. It is a mental health issue. So that's where I disagree with him.
The asylums that wrong.
Exactly. Now, asylums obviously were ran horrifically. So those were ran horrifically. I mean, we can't argue that. Okay, so now Charlie Kirk was an amazing speaker, but specific things. So, who was Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative youth organization, for inflammatory remarks, stoning of God's perfect law, trans identities are a throbbing middle finger to God, advocate numbering style for trials for doctors threading gender affirming care, which I obviously did psychology. I'm going to be actually working into the gender affirming care area. That's actually what I'm specializing in. So I find that kind of interesting. Psychology lens. This is the classic moral panic. Leaders use fear to rally followers, creating in groups and out groups. Separates us, right? It separates people. LGBTQ people hear these words as invalidation of identity, which reaches. So what's interesting is when Charlie Kirk would speak at these rallies, of course he had a lot of people on both sides show up in very strongly. He had both people feel very strongly on both ends, and it would divide people. Work with our differences, which I feel like people can. I feel like people can work beside each other and disagree, which I actually have friends who disagree completely with the LGBTQ and one another and not hate on one another, which why is it that Charlie Kirk, he created such a hateful dynamic? Interesting, right? So, remarks that he has made. So, I'm going to bring up the picture I have. I'm going to try to get my computer here. Sorry about the pause. Again, my computer is running really slow. I'm pretty sure this is my internet today. God, I don't know what's going on with my internet. Normally it does not. Ugh. All right, you guys, I'm going to have to just go off of speech. You guys can look up where to find some of the hateful slurs he has done. Because my computer is not bringing any, it is not bringing anything up off of here. I can't even bring up my YouTube or I can't bring up any other sites right now. It's frustrating, which I am going to trust that my viewers can think for themselves and we can just talk analytically with each other. All right, so what is one harmful stereotype that you have seen repeated in politics and harmful stereotype that you have seen, whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or not? I know one hateful and harmful stereotype thrown towards the community I'm a part of, the LGBT. A lot of people transgender are going to just go in and rape everyone they see. And I'm going to go ahead and use that word today. And here's why. Okay. I'm going to say something, and a lot of people assume that transgender people only want to go into the bathroom, and it's actually a meme and a slur and a misinformation that they just want to go into the bathroom and do something harmful. And yes, there is one or two bad eggs out there, but that doesn't mean all transgender want to do this. Okay? Most transgender people are more afraid than the cisgender are. So it's actually, the statistics are, most of the crimes are committed against the transgender community, especially if you look at, they're actually more afraid of what's going to happen to them. So quite frankly, even my girlfriend at work, every time she has to use the bathroom, use the restroom, just anytime people just come in the bathroom, she's already in the stall. So that's the one thing that, people don't really have to think about usually, right? A cisgender person doesn't have to think about that every time they go into the restroom, but a transgender person does. On September 25th, 2025, Kirk assassinated at Utah Valley University. Shooter was Tyler Robinson, 22, a Utah resident. The charges: aggravated murder, obstruction of justice. Do I feel like Charlie Kirk should have been murdered because of how he felt, even though I completely disagreed with everything he stood for and said? Also, there should have just been discussions and more debates. There should have never been violence. Violence is never the answer to things. And it also should have been never done in the answer of, or in the light of, I'm defending this. This is never the answer. So even though even though I can't stand Charlie Kirk, violence is never ever the answer. And even I have mixed feelings about this person going on death row. So I think that this person should just go to prison. DOJ is considering unusual charges, persecuting as an anti-Christian. They're strange charges, to say the least, because, well, Charlie Kirk, for one, was speaking for the Christian, and I actually believe his shooter actually was Christian. Strange. So radicalization often comes from frustration and identity conflict. And here's the interesting thing, that this young man could have been very confused and conflicted about himself. Instead of having access to mental health care, which here in America, we have a lot of issues with that. We have a shortage of mental health care. The best access to mental health care for people who have insurance, even. So people without insurance, it's a nightmare. So who knows what his mental health care was like. Robinson's text to his partner: "I have had enough of Kirk's hatred." When people are tired of Charlie Kirk and what he was saying, most people tend to click off, right? Most people tend to stop listening, and most people just turn off the news or stop watching what they are sick and tired of hearing, right? I mean, I know when I'm sick of Trump, I'm off that day because I don't want to hear it anymore. Like most people, if they don't want to hear a certain subject anymore, they just click off, like most people. So this person had decided, okay, I am sick and tired of his kind of family. He had a daughter, he had kids and a wife and a whole family that loved him. Regardless of what the LGBTQ community thought of him, that man had a whole family that loved him. So for this man to decide to go take this guy's life, that in itself was more evil than how he saw Kirk. That's how I see it. And I'm not even a believer. I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in things we're spouting. And I grew up in religion. I grew up in church. I find that, he probably in himself, maybe he himself was gay. You never know. He probably had a because it didn't work out. And sadly, instead of going to go get help, he shot someone and took a family away. The guy is, a father and a husband and an uncle. And sadly, I feel for that family. Even though I can't stand everything Kirk stood for, I feel for the whole family. My heart does go out to them. The solution. I do want to, maybe I'm going to try, I'm going to beg my computer to Kirk shooting. I want to show shooting and how horrible this was. Okay. I'm going to ask this I listen now. This is the 3D breakdown, which I find this interesting too. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show this because the 3D breakdown is kind of interesting.
From nearly 400 feet, or about 120 meters away, the gunman had been lying in wait.
That's a hell of a shot.
A single round tears through the air, hitting Kirk in the neck. The crowd erupts in panic. The shooter immediately ran across the roof as people scatter in fear. A massive manhunt begins. Heavily armed police search every corner. Nearby, officers recover a Mauser bolt-action rifle, hidden in the woods and wrapped in a towel. Meanwhile, the suspect flees nearly 250 miles south to his hometown of St. George, Utah. Where his father confronts him after recognizing him in surveillance images. After the shooting, police surround the home. Tyler Robinson is arrested without resistance. Charlie Kirk, during an event at Utah Valley University, was shot.
For one, that kind of shot took hell. Doing that practice. So, all right. My stance is simple. Violence is an answer, the period, and never the answer, period. History teaches us MLK violence only deepened the cycles of trauma. Psychology tells us violence perpetuates the harm. It never heals. Dialogue, protest, and advocacy are the tools of lasting change. So I want to show you guys something that I want to show you guys something really cool. All right, here's a speech. I really want it to load. Give me a second. Ay, ay, ay. All right, I want to show you guys Martin Luther King's speech. Reload. Okay. I'm going to bring it up on stage. I am going to bring this up on stage. I'm hoping this plays. I had to choose the one that was actually downloaded to my computer. By the way.
He said violence, and that if that were the alternative, he would have to choose violence. Do you subscribe to that judgment of Gandhi, or would you disavow violence under any condition?
When he was setting forth violence as an alternative, I think he was emphasizing, or rather trying to refute an all too prevalent fallacy. And that is that the persons who use the method of nonviolence are actually the weak persons, just was attempting to refute. Now, in that instance, I would agree with Gandhi that if the only alternative to violence, to fear, is violence and vice versa, then I would say fight. But it isn't the only alternative. And the one thing is that
Sorry, you guys.
people can deal with their pressure.
I apologize for my internet.
Well,
Normally
one
is
is
better.
to rise up in open violence, in physical violence. And the method is its futility. I feel that violence creates many more social problems than it solves.
May I interrupt you there, Dr. King? There are today certainly people who are forced to endure a kind of injustice that neither you nor even God is time to see misguided men and having used violence.
I admire freedom fighters wherever they are, but I still believe that nonviolence is the strongest approach. In a particular locality, I think it should apply in every situation in the world where individuals seek to break loose from the bondage of colonialism or from some totalitarian.
The universal answer to injustice is oppression.
Very definitely. Very definitely. I feel that nonviolence, organized, I should say, organized nonviolence.
Sorry, I was checking my analytics to make sure everything's
is the
good.
most powerful.
While we're watching us.
Now, the other method that one might use is that of resignation or acquiescence. But I think that is just as bad as violence, because non-cooperation with evil is as much a moral as is
resistance and nonviolent resistance, is that it?
Well, I think that can be something of a semantical problem. If passive resistance means just passively accepting violence or injustice, if it means actions that does resist.
Now, I think nonviolence is more powerful, as he's saying. When we speak up with nonviolence, it's way more powerful than violence. I mean, even look at how Charlie Kirk got all the followers he did. He was an amazing speaker. We have to give him that, no matter how he stood, and he spoke with great power. He never used violence. He spoke with hate as far as I'm concerned, but he never used violence. So, what's one peaceful protest or advocacy effort that helped inspire you? Is there one peaceful protest that you liked? I know I do. I like certain peaceful protests. Let me try to find it. Trying to use it the same way I found, but I'm also having to be very careful because, again, my computer is kind of on. I may not be able to bring it up. All right. I'm going to have to pivot, and I'll just make this a discussion point. Let me know in the comments if there was one of your favorite peaceful protests. Usually people have one they can remember. Mine, did you know that Pride actually was a riot for the trans community? It started out that way. Now, Pride event is still, in some ways, a protest. It's still a way to get people to remember that we advocacies try to fight for our equal rights for marriage. And there's reasons for Pride. It's not just for trying to be out there and in your face. That's not what Pride's about. So that's one of my favorites. Anyways, Kirk's use of scripture, affirming religious voices exist. Churches and leaders who embrace LGBTQ identities. There are those out there. Religious trauma syndrome. Invalidation creates lasting wounds. Healing covering space, reality. So, faith should heal, never harm. So, there is a lot of speakers are public. Now, I myself do not necessarily believe in a God. I am more of a, as you say, pagan. So I don't necessarily follow all that. But I want to show you guys this. This is very interesting to me. And I would love to show you guys this, speaking of the Charlie Kirk situation. I gotta let this queue up because, again, my computer is completely slow. Okay. I'm gonna bring this up on stage. She's acting so slow today. I wonder if I have to... Is defragging still a thing? Does anyone know? I have an older Alienware, and I'm wondering if I have to defrag it. It's actually starting to kind of annoy me. It took me forever to come on stream because of this, too. And I had everything laid out and ready, and it's just, ay.
Parents okay with this? Absolutely not. They texted me this morning. For me to, and that they have chosen their convictions and their beliefs over supporting their child. Everyone gets nervous when there's a special announcement from the pastor. I'm not leaving. to it. So
Oh my God. I'm so sorry for my internet.
Rarely do I did not get into ministry to talk about myself or my personal life, but sometimes there are things that happen in a pastor's personal is find a faith. And so I am inviting you to join me in a season of creative transformation for myself, and I think for all of us. Imagine, so I am
And I am very proud of that pastor for doing so.
transgender, and so
It takes a lot of guts to come out, especially in a church. It could be very scary. I mean,
And
even
so-
what happened to Charlie Kirk. He could have been shot just the same. Charlie Kirk was.
the best way to put this is that I'm not becoming a woman, I'm giving up pretending to be a man.
That's exactly how my girlfriend felt.
What will change? Thank God ever.
Oh, yeah.
Amen. I was waiting for that.
I gotta find out if I have to.
None of you ever judged me, or that was not part of the intake process of me being your pastor, was because of how my face looked or my body. Well, carry in a nap.
All right, so I am going to cut this one short. So I will be easy on my computer so my viewers don't. Did you know an affirming faith leader or community share their name so others can find hope? Now, I would like to open this up for discussion. If any of you, however you feel about the Charlie Kirk situation or his shooter, creator on here, Dr. G, he is freaking fantastic. I love Dr. G. Dr. G explains is so cool. This is something he just did. We are going to pull up something he did with the shooter. And I find this so cool. If you guys like psychology, and I don't necessarily subscribe to body language analysis, but I subscribe to everything else he does. So let's take a look at what Dr. G has to say. And I have some things and thoughts of my own. I don't always subscribe to body analysis. But I
And
do
today,
subscribe.
we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of Tyler Robinson, the man accused of assassinating
shooter
Charlie
of-
Kirk. Before we
yeah.
get started with this, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation. And within days of Charlie Kirk's assassination on September 10th of this year, Tyler Robinson was arrested. What we're going to be looking at today is his first in-court appearance. All right, let's just jump right in. The body cam footage that he was on, you may have also seen his first court appearance. One thing that we've seen from Tyler Robinson is that he can come across as a bit awkward. So that's probably what we're going to see more of today. What we're seeing right now is that he's basically sitting up very straight, looking around a little bit. We're not seeing any particular emotion coming off of him right now, though. And something that we frequently see in early hearings, there tends to be a lot of anxiety. There tends to be a lot of soothing behaviors. We'll see if he shows that today. Now, one thing you may already be noticing is that his posture tends to be very upright. Something that we saw previously is that he tends to be a rule follower. That doesn't mean that he can't break laws, doesn't mean that he isn't guilty of what he was accused of, but he does come across as someone who is trying to follow the rules. And I think that's that would be if he was slouching in his chair, if he was leaning back, if he was rocking back in his chair, if he was doing something that felt inappropriate for court, because we see that all the time.
He reminds me of the guy that did the Idaho stabbings. He just does. He reminds me so much of that. There's just so many mannerisms. It's kind of not like he's very smug. He just doesn't seem to really care what's going on, you know? He's almost arrogant in some ways, I feel.
Something we typically do to self-soothe. He seems to be self-entertaining. So right now he doesn't seem stressed at all. We're not seeing any sort of anxiety. We're really not seeing a lot of stress right now. So it's interesting to see him do that. He's also responding well. Those are little things that we look at which are important, because some people might claim that someone is out of their mind or that there's some other issue. He's being very...
I don't know.
Now, one thing that's interesting about Tyler Robinson is how minimal his facial expressions are. When he was responding to that attorney a second ago, he said, yeah, or something to that effect. And there was just no movement outside of his mouth moving. And typically when we're interacting with somebody, our eyebrows raise a little bit. There tends to be more movement in the face. He just doesn't have it. He looks appropriate. So how he's coming across, how he's looking, his posture, all of that clearly is something that's important to him. And that's not always the case with people in court. If you watch enough hearings, if you see enough people in court, some people really don't care about those things, and they just aren't aware of them. So this does show that he's very
He's almost uncomfortably rigid. He kind of makes me he kind of unnerves me. It's like there's something completely off about him. You know, I feel like there's he feels like Koberger.
Now you do see him moving left to right in his chair, which does suggest some nervous energy. We're not seeing any of it on his face, but that rocking does tend to soothe us a little bit. So that's probably what he's doing right here. And it looks like he's smiling right here. He's clearly not so nervous that he can't have interactions with people that make him feel good or that make him smile, which is interesting because sometimes these situations are too heavy for people to do that. Normal amount of space, and it is for some people, but everybody's a little bit different with that. For him, he does tend to leave a lot of space when he's talking to this attorney right now, rather than leaning in a little bit further. So he may be and there he is smiling again. So it seems like there's a certain amount of levity to this for him. He's able to put the heaviness of the situation aside. Have you ever Googled your own name or email address? Before I had Aura, I did, and wow, it was my full name, my old address, phone number, all sorts of information. I did not raise our eyebrows a little bit, particularly when we're making a specific point. If we really want somebody to hear what we're saying, And you're not. So there was a little bit just now. Earlier, he's keeping a lot of a distance from this attorney. We naturally tend to lean into people when we're talking to them, particularly in a situation like this.
I think he's actually more just bored in some ways. I really do. I don't think he's particularly really even interested in what he did, which also means he obviously doesn't really have a so
Because we don't want to talk too loud. So generally speaking, we get a little bit closer with people. He may be somebody that keeps people at arm's distance because he really is staying pretty far away from his attorney. You can see she's leaning in a little bit. He's leaning back a little bit. So it's interesting that he has these boundaries around others.
You know, I wonder if he's even makes me wonder if he has a touch of autism. I mean, I don't know.
One thing I've said before, but I stand by because seeing him in court reminds me of him again, is he reminds me so much of Brian Kohberger. For those of you unfamiliar with Brian Kohberger, he was recently incarcerated.
Counsel, if you could enter your appearances, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Kathy Nestor, excuse me, Richard Novak, Stacy Visser on behalf of Mr. Robinson.
Good afternoon.
Now, part of what we're doing right now is trying to establish a baseline of Tyler Robinson's behaviors. We're trying to get what his normal behaviors are, because if this is all streamed during the trial, then sometimes those behaviors might change. It'll let us know what stands out as exceptional. Now, right now, one thing that I noticed is that when the attorney was introducing them to the judge, you didn't see Tyler Robinson smile or nod. Typically, people do that. So there may be certain behaviors that other people do automatically that he doesn't engage in. It's not a good or bad thing. It just is.
Richard Novak, Stacy Visser on behalf of Mr. Robinson.
Good afternoon. Have authority that supports allowing them to remain in a closed hearing?
No, I think it's subject to the court's discretion to would certainly abide by any orders the court makes concerning disclosure. What is
they will be
we are seeing some stress from Tyler Robinson right now. Take a big breath in, big breath out. So he is affected by these things. He just doesn't show it as much as your average person.
It's up to the court.
Full sensitivity of it.
Now, we just skipped over a good chunk. They were out of the courtroom. They had the closed door meeting. This is them back in the courtroom while they're waiting for the judge.
Yeah, he just seems very stoic to me. I don't feel like he actually really even cares about what he did, you know? I think I don't know. He just seems like he just doesn't care about what he did to me. It's like very stoic, very rigid. It just doesn't seem like he has a lot of remorse for what he did. You know? It's like he's almost proud of it. It's like maybe so anyways, that's kind of my take. I am so sorry that this stream was so messy. This is my first time doing a dual stream, and I'm still trying to get everything down on both ends in the to figure out why my computer time with the internet this time, because normally it doesn't. So I do appreciate everyone's patience, and I am I'm so glad everyone's here. Lurking, appreciate you. And if you are live, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching As I See It, Politics and More. I am so sorry I couldn't bring up half of the videos I wanted to. For some reason, my computer wouldn't bring up the media source I had chosen because it wasn't YouTube. And I have to kind of figure out why it wouldn't do that. I think it was my internet. So I do kind of have to fix that. I am still kind of working out tech issues. So this is my first time dual streaming. I think that had something to do with it. So I will figure this out and I will learn from this. I appreciate your patience. All right. I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for rocking with As I See It, Politics and More. See you next time. All right. Good. Goodbye. We're still here. Oh, Jesus Christ, it won't disconnect. My internet is so bad. Hang on.